Hello and welcome to the C Team. I'm Mike Curley.
And this is Frank Curley.
And we're here to talk about movies today. What are we talking about, Frank?
Yes, let's see. Well, we both just saw Wonder Woman last week.
Good movie. Damn fine film.
Yeah, pretty good. Best DC movie we've seen in a while, aside from Lego Batman.
So we're a little late on the first weekend reviews. So what we're going to do, we're going to kind of give a recap of the DCEU, the DC Extended Universe, because I guess they decided DCCU sounded silly. And, look at where they've come from, where they've been, and where they're going.
Where'd you come from? Where have you been? What's with your hair?
Exactly. Okay, so the DCEU is actually... They tried to start it with Green Lantern. That didn't take off.
Yeah. All right film. You have to be a bit forgiving for it,
it's not the best movie out there. It was entertaining. They kind of mixed Hal Jordan with... Kyle Rayner, and I like Ryan Reynolds. I don't think he's Green Lantern. Yeah. He's a little too silly.
See, well, to be fair to Ryan Reynolds, he's kind of been through the meat grinder movies-wise until Deadpool.
Yeah, that's kind of where he got his start, and good on him. He was very congratulatory toward Wonder Woman. Yeah. He tweeted out, what did he say? The Merc with the mouth might be dirtier, but Wonder Woman has a stronger BO.
Right.
Stronger box office.
I was about to say body odor.
That's what he was going for, yes. Okay, so DCEU, Man of Steel, Superman, first Superman movie in a while since Quest for Peace.
Superman Returns, not Batman Returns.
Oh, Superman Returns. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that, and I think so does everybody else.
Yeah.
I have problems with that movie as far as Lois as a journalist, because I'm a journalist and she does everything wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, Man of Steel. Much better Lois Lane as a journalist.
Right, she actually does some journalizing.
Yeah, it's actually funny where, the usual...
Is that even a word?
It is now.
Okay.
The usual trope with Lois Lane is she's like the only person on the planet who doesn't know Clark is Superman. And I like that in Man of Steel, she's the first person to figure out Clark is Superman, and it's never a question. So they kind of sidestep that whole how she's fooled by a pair of glasses.
I will quote one good line from Green Lantern. You think just because I can't see your cheekbones, you think I don't recognize you?
That was one of the cleverer lines.
And I think Lois Lane... Well, the comic books back in the day, women weren't... women weren't the best represented at a time, and...
Lois is kind of stupid in the old comics.
To put it bluntly. So Man of Steel, good movie, probably not the best thing to start with.
Yeah, it kind of, I would not have destroyed Metropolis on the first go.
Right. It felt like that plot, Kryptonians invading Earth should have been the Justice League plot, and they should have saved it for later. Yeah,
I think they raised the stakes a little too high to start with, and that's, I think, is going to be a theme going forward through this. Now, overall, I think it was a good movie. It gets a lot of flack for Superman not acting like Superman, and my thing is... It's that's on purpose because he's not really Superman yet.
Yeah,
he's still learning to be Superman. It's more of the beginning of Batman Begins before he puts the suit on, where he isn't, where Bruce isn't able to do the whole silently leave before anybody realizes the thing.
Yeah, and it is an interesting subject. Big alien invasion, and Superman's still just trying to gotta get my stuff together, gotta fight this, don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's an inexperienced Superman, which you don't really see in all the previous movies. Even when he's starting out, he's still kind of perfect. Right. So it does serve to kind of humanize him and give him some flaws, some uncertainty, which I think the arc they're going for, and it's kind of borne out in Batman versus Superman, is they're building up to the classic Boy Scout Superman.
Right. As
a series starter, though, I think, the stakes too high.
I remember saying, as soon as I saw that movie, I feel like they were trying to do their Justice League movie like right now.
Well, that's exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, and then hype went out for Batman versus Superman, and the more I heard about it, the more I feel the cracks started to show, even before the movie came out.
The cracks in Batman versus Superman?
Right, and DC in general.
Yeah, in fairness, they've been playing catch up to Marvel. because Marvel had a big build-up with the Avengers. They had us waiting for 4 years for that movie, and when it came out, it knocked it out of the park. So DC wanted in on that, but they only 2 or 3 movies beforehand. They're jumping. I'm not going to say they jumped the gun, but they jumped the gun. So which brings us to Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice.
I'll start with some defense of some of the things in the movie.
I thought I was going to have to do that.
All right, fine, you do it. I'll be the jerk. I'll be the jerk.
We could switch off. I like Batman vs Superman more than like probably anybody else who wasn't actually involved in the movie. I acknowledge there are some bad things, and Frank will go over those in a minute. But I'll focus on what is the good. I think the final fight in particular, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman versus Doomsday, spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen the movie in 3 years, I think that was just a fantastic sequence. Wonder Woman especially, she shows up, she steals the show, and it's kind of like, it's almost like a better version of Man of Steel's climax, where it really showcases, okay, yes, they're going with the full-blown superhero abilities here. And I also think it's hilarious that Batman's role in the fight is to just stay out of the way and not die until he could fire off that grenade.
He's the rogue of that party.
Yeah, it's like it's telling, like, that first blast, Superman and Wonder Woman, they brace themselves. Batman is running for cover because he knows he's swinging way out of his weight class.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. I like that kind of realism.
And I do like how they didn't go too much in the Wonder Woman. Like, here's Wonder Woman. If you don't know who Wonder Woman is, welcome to our planet.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, we'll get to that. We'll give her her own movie. And also, I will say, I guess the best part of Batman vs. Superman is just the physical sequences. Yeah. They might not make sense in their setup, but the fights are, the Batman vs. Superman fight in particular is probably the best live-action adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns that we're going to get. And Batman versus all the goons in the warehouse, that was, the perfect visceral Batman versus goons fight. That's like, if any of you have played Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, it was basically that kind of fight. Where Batman, he's agile, but he's brutal in a way you don't really see, even in the Batman Begins movies. Because Batman Begins, he's very conservative in his movements in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And he is a big guy, like in comics and
he's built like a truck. He's not as big as Superman for the most part, but he's built like a truck. Right. And that sequence is one of the highlights. I've always been a big Batman fan. I love the Arkham games. And that is like the quintessential Batman just going to town on a group of guys. And finally, the most good I can say about Batman versus Superman is Wonder Woman. And she steals the show. Yep. And I love that in that final sequence, whenever she's on screen, her theme just like completely drowns out everything else. It's like, okay, this is the Wonder Woman show. Because she is really leading the fight in that sequence. She is the one, for the most part, going toe-to-toe with Doomsday. There's only like once or twice. Like, Superman spends the first 5 minutes of that fight getting thrown around. But Wonder Woman is squaring off. She's probably, of the three of them, the most experienced and the best straight-out fighter. And it was good seeing that characterization of her, where she gets knocked to the ground, and then she comes up with a fighting grin. She's looking. She's like, she's got some steam to burn off, and she's been looking forward to this.
I've had this much fun since World War I.
Yeah, more or less. But yeah, so she, Wonder Woman is probably the best part of that movie, and that's probably why her movie was so much better.
Right. And we'll get to that.
Now to go over what sucked about Batman vs. Superman, I go to my lovely assistant, Frank.
So, I'll be like the prosecutor from Heavy Metal.
Oh, I thought you were going to go for My Cousin Vinny.
Everything just says... Anyway. So, Lex Luthor was weirdly the thing is, it didn't bug me, at the time of the film, but what he does doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I know they cut out some scenes too, which would have made it make a bit more sense, but that meeting where Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne first see each other, and he's just kind of on them for no reason. It's like, ooh, Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne together in one room. I'm like, well, why don't you just be their fight announcer?
He kind of is.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
And,
that's the role he's playing. But yeah, that scene doesn't make sense unless you know that he knows who Clark Kent is, because Clark Kent is a stringer for the Daily Planet. He's for non-journalists, a stringer is just about a step up from a freelancer. He's on the staff, but he's not like one of their highlight reporters like Lois is. So, there's really no reason that Lex Luthor should really notice Clark Kent.
Yeah. And the reason the fight, I thought it would have been hilarious if Batman, who's been wanting a fight for a while, does all that training, but then Superman rescues his mom, and then Batman's just still is waiting there with his staff, +1 against Kryptonians.
I think it's at least +5.
Yeah, +5, and just kind of like standing there, goes, "Hey, I dragged tires for this fight."
Yeah, you would not. Bruce is up there. He's like, I feel like I'm being stood up. He's sitting there, and honestly, he would have sat there in the rain all frigging night. Yeah. If Lex Luthor didn't step up and go, okay, guys, the trailers all had this fight. Let's get to it.
Yeah,
and really, it's telling about the one of my biggest problems with the fight is not the fight itself, but that I did not feel that the movie fully justified why they were throwing down.
It really didn't,
especially on Superman's side. And it's telling that Lex Luthor has to basically twist the arm and say, "No, seriously, get over there."
It's like, come, guys. We have an audience, just kind of waiting for this.
Those guys
move it along.
Those guys paid $15 goddamn a ticket to see you two beat the crap out of each other. Get over there.
I imagine Superman go, really, 15? God.
Well, he's from Kansas. I guess it's probably cheaper there.
Yeah, and again, no real reason to fight, and Batman's motivation is just kind of nonsense.
Yeah, Batman. Batman's kind of going off the deep end in the movie. He's apparently not sleeping well. He's having weird dreams.
Oh, he's Batman. That's like a regular thing for him.
Yeah, he's drinking, and I guess they could have done better as far as establishing that Batman was not in the right state of mind, because you have to jump through a couple of hoops to see his logic.
Yeah.
And Superman, he kind of goes into the fight. He tries to talk to Bruce, and I kind of see they're going with the human element that eventually he just gets pissed off, and he's like, "Look, sit down.
We need to talk."
Yeah, because you could see it on his face. Eventually, Superman's just getting frustrated.
Yeah.
With this uppity millionaire who wants to pick a fight with him for some reason.
Come at me, bro. The movie.
Really, it is.
And yeah. Let's not go over the whole Martha thing, because I think that's been done to death.
Yeah, I can see the logic in it, although I can see how it was flawed in execution.
Yeah,
we could probably do a whole episode just us arguing about Martha.
Oh, yeah, because we have spent about 2 hours arguing about that. We don't have that time, so...
yeah, we got places to be.
Yeah, we have drinks to drink.
Exactly.
And, so
I would say Batman vs. Superman is a better movie than the internet gives it credit for.
Well, the internet, there is no in-between in the internet.
Leave your comments, people. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, there is. I can't wait to see who's on my side, who's on your side in this.
Oh, I think they're going to be on your side.
Really?
It's not popular to like Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah,
I watch it when it's on HBO. It's entertaining. I am forgiving for the leaps in logic, for the sake of I can see what they were trying to do, even if they didn't do it also.
Yeah,
great.
You're far more forgiving than I usually am with film.
Yeah, although there are a few where I'm like, okay, Internet, you were right. Like The Last Airbender. Internet, you were absolutely right.
Yes,
that's a stinker.
Internet, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Broken Clock, right twice. I get that, but you still hit it on the head there.
Okay, so moving on. Suicides.
Overall theme, I think, is, again, rushing it.
Jumping the stakes.
They're trying to have their Justice League movie and Civil War at the same time.
Yeah, they're kind of like they're kind of building up. They're tripping over their own feet.
Anything. It's just like.
Although I will say one other thing I like about the DCEU in general, Batman vs. Superman in particular, is that there is an older Batman.
Yeah,
we've seen enough origin stories that I don't think there's an English-speaking person on the planet who doesn't know that Bruce Wayne's parents get gunned down in an alley. Spoiler alert. So it was.
Sorry.
And so it was nice to see that an established older Batman, where his stories have already happened, where you can have the more modern stories with an established Batman at the top of his game, or at least still in that zone. So I thought that was a refreshing take on it to go with the straight up older Batman and eschew the origin story, even if they did use those scenes in Batman versus Superman to set up the whole Martha thing. Okay, let's get off Martha.
So Martha. No, anyway.
The kind of the naughty stepchild of the
Yes.
DC universe, and apologies to any actual naughty stepchildren who might be listening.
Yeah.
And Suicide Squad. It had
God.
potential. It had potential,
Well,
but
everything has potential.
yeah, but it's this in particular. It's something that you wouldn't have seen before. Marvel's whole
No,
run.
you wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have seen all a bunch of C-list villains and Harley Quinn being the protagonists of a movie. And I think that's ambitious. It's a story that could be told well, but they didn't.
But okay, I know we have my rants elsewhere on the list, but I think it is a good place to say it. Point one: DC has the tools; they just need to stop going to work drunk. They have good casting. Ben Affleck, I don't think. I never thought was a bad actor.
He's an Oscar winner.
Yeah, he's. They got the right person for Superman, for Wonder Woman, for
Gal Gadot knocks it out of the park.
Maybe
She's
not
perfect.
Lex Luthor, but they have the right tools, but they just Suicide Squad for me is the epitome of the rest of their problems. Like Marvel has Civil War. We need Civil War. They have Avengers. We need our own Justice League. I'm sorry. They have
Guardians of the
Galaxy. We need our own. They have a pink unicorn, and in our movie, we need a pink unicorn.
Yeah, Suicide Squad, they were trying to cram in too much. They tried to go with, this is the bad guys, but, they saved the world. The Suicide Squad would have been a better movie if the stakes were a lot lower.
Yeah.
The Suicide Squad in the comics, Task Force X, they do, wet work. They do things. They do small scale things. They go in, they steal something, they kill somebody. One or two of them get their head blown off, and they come back.
What would have been great is a parallel to Ocean's 11.
Yeah, that would have been a good way to do it. And in fact, one of the better episodes of Justice League Unlimited, Task Force X, goes exactly that way, where it's a heist they're pulling off against the Justice League, and half of the episode is the planning of it.
Yeah, I should probably point out, I'm definitely much more of a moviegoer. Mike says, we watch the shows. Maybe he hasn't read every comic, but he's definitely read into the comics a lot more than I have.
I keep track.
Yeah, he keeps track of it. So I'm mostly, movies with some episodes. I mean, I grew up with Batman the Animated Series. I love Kevin Conroy. And all that.
Kevin Conroy should just dub over all of the other Batman roles, except for Adam West. God rest his soul.
Yeah, I was actually heartbroken over that.
Yeah, he was a good man. He had a good sense of humor. He was a good Batman.
Yeah.
But back to Suicide Squad.
Right. But so from a movie's perspective, and just knowing what Marvel's done, it definitely. They had reshoot after reshoot. Well, from what I understand, they actually added more action more than they added humor.
I would have preferred if they had humor.
Yeah,
because there are funny moments. Some of the jokes fall flat. The whole we're bad guys. It's what they do. And
we get
delivery.
Yeah, it's just all right, we get that part. But I kind of feel like this is another movie that should have been, years later.
Yeah, well, they could get away with it partly because, again, they established the older Batman. They established that, Batman has put a lot of his guys in jail. So they could get away with, having established that Batman's rogues are around.
But even if you're not doing, origin, even if you're not doing... Bloody Mike. Even if you're not doing the origin story, you still need to establish them. I still feel they could have taken like a few installments to establish all these characters.
Yeah, you could have had a Batman movie where he's up against the Joker, establish Harley Quinn. You know, show Deadshot a couple times.
No origin, just here's Batman versus the Joker and Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and maybe Deadshot shows up.
Yeah,
so because they did kind of rush a lot, and basically the whole thing about Task Force X or the Suicide Squad, whatever you want to call them, is they're bad guys doing shady things. They're not the world-saving group. They're not supposed to be. They would have been better off in a thing where, if it was more something closer to a homegrown thing, maybe taking on another villain who's particularly bad. Like if they were going against the Joker, then it might make sense. But having like the whole save the world thing, and the way it was resolved, I mean, these guys have known each other for 12 hours.
Yeah, we're family.
And suddenly they're a family that's sacrificing themselves for each other. That really rang hollow, especially because, you know, like Harley and Deadshot, they're entertaining, but they're bad people.
Yeah.
The one person in the group...
Well, he has a daughter, now we have to automatically sympathize with him.
Yeah, the one person in the group who is like really genuinely remorseful, he got blown up. So what do we care? You know, the rest of them are not this loving family unit.
Well, we did have what's-his-name that got blown up at the beginning of the mission.
Oh, yeah, him.
He was what's-his-name.
Yeah.
Let's just call him that.
Slipknot, he's on screen just to get blown up.
Isn't that a rock band?
Probably.
Okay. Focus group to all hell. They had like two versions, apparently. I think one was darker than the other. They tried to find a middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
So... from what I understand, that's one of the big reasons for the mood whiplash. They cut out a lot of Joker bits.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Whether they should have cut out the rest, because I guess you can't have Harley Quinn without the Joker. You have to kind of establish that, at least in backstory. And even in the main story, the Joker's role is not a big one. It's basically just throw a temporary wrench in the works.
Yeah, just like hi, and then leave.
Which is kind of fitting for the Joker, and he
isn't always trying to destroy the world. Sometimes he's just mad. Yeah,
and I do kind of like the idea of a universe where these guys can just drop in and not be the big thing in the movie.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to like Thor and Bruce Banner hanging out during like Civil War.
Yeah.
But and then Jared Leto.
Oh, Jared Leto. What can we say about Jared Leto that his co-stars haven't already said?
Yeah. Well, one great quote from Will Smith is, "I don't think I actually met Jared Leto until after we were done filming."
See, in any other movie, that might well be a compliment, but apparently, he tried too much to be the Joker.
Right. Well, some things like used condoms in the mail, that doesn't sound precisely like the Joker.
Depends on Joker. The Joker as a character swings from, I'm going to steal this kid's report card because his parents will never believe it. He swings from that extreme to, I'm going to blow up Metropolis. So
his superpower is being nuts.
Yeah, it really is, or super sanity, depending on the...
Well, hyper sanity, he doesn't just have one personality.
Yeah, the Joker's weird, and Jared Leto tried to be as weird as the Joker, which is iffy.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he played Hummel from The Rock, Ed Harris. He basically gets in the character, even for a dumb Michael Bay movie, and had been known to snap at people while he was filming that.
That's method acting.
And I don't think it really works with the Joker.
Yeah, you don't want a method actor as the Joker because it screws you up.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other problem I have with Suicide Squad is there were some places it was blatantly copying Marvel.
Yeah, the
pink unicorn. I'm not going to let this go. Captain Boomerang does not have a unicorn fetish in anything else. And honestly, they stuck it in there because of Deadpool. And the way it's used, it's just stuck in there. There is no payoff for it. It's literally just, oh, haha, he has a unicorn.
That pink unicorn really is the epitome of all of DC's problems.
It kind of represents it. It's a tacked on addition to the character that does not add anything. It doesn't characterize him. No one else even sees a stupid thing. There's a couple places where it could have paid off and been hilarious. There's at one point in the movie he gets stabbed and He opens his coat, and it turns out it stabs some money. If that had been the unicorn, that would have been funny. Or you see everyone else's like fantasies that the enchantress gives them to try and sway them over, and you see Harley's, which is
probably the most interesting one.
Yeah, the Joker. The Joker's he's actually a little creepier when he's just a normal person.
But you see it, you realize that Harley Quinn is messed up, and her perception is done.
We could do a whole episode on. We could do a whole hour just on the relationship between Harley and the Joker. I mean, okay, so you see Harleys, you see Deadshots, you see Flags, you see El Diablos. You don't see Captain Boomerangs. The other way it could have paid off is if you do that and then you cut to Captain Boomerang's fantasy and he's like in My Little Pony Land, whatever it's called. Then it would have paid off with the setup. But as it is, it's just like tacked on there as, hey, look at us, we can be wacky too.
Yeah. And
it's a cringy part of the character. Some of the bits where they introduce the character, some of them are legitimately interesting, funny. Like there's if you freeze the frame, you see that Harley is complicit or at least an accomplice in the death of Jason Todd, that Robin. And or Deadshot, they have the list of weapons on there is a musket and a potato gun. He's lethal with a potato gun.
Well, to be fair, a giant projectile at the right area.
A potato gun does not have that kind of velocity. It fires potatoes.
It is used for physics experiments, and I imagine some are bigger than others.
Possibly, but still, potatoes...
I'm not a physicist, by the way, so don't...
we can send that to the Mythbusters. Can you kill someone with a potato gun?
Well, they're done now, unfortunately.
I'm sure somebody has tried. Yeah. Well, or somebody can do the ballistics on it.
Yeah, well, we don't actually want
please don't shoot each other with potato guns.
Yes.
This is our first episode. Don't get us sued.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a cousin who's an attorney, but I think he's going to fight pro. He may not do pro bono for this.
Yeah. So other quick things before we finally get on to the subject matter. So Zack Snyder. I've read something where when he did Watchmen, it made sense at least. He's used to darker films.
Yeah.
And I mean there was some. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of action in that movie, which was pretty restrained for Zack Snyder.
Yeah, there's a couple fight scenes, but yeah, Watchmen is not like it's not an action heavy.
Try to be what
story.
Logan is.
Yeah, kind of similar. It's more of a character drama with people in weird costumes.
Yep, best kind.
So, but Zack Snyder, I would say, his choreography and action stuff is generally pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Batman vs. Superman, I mean, like I said, the best parts of that movie were the physical parts.
Right.
The plotting, I don't know how much is him and how much is the script.
And how much is the producers.
But he does not have a history of, great movies as far as plot goes.
Yeah, I mean, I love 300.
Yeah, the 300, the plot wasn't really his. It was Frank Miller's anyway.
Yeah, so having only, really... liked one movie of his. I like
Watchmen. I liked Watchmen. I was actually watching it last night.
I was bored.
I
was maybe I wasn't. Maybe I should. I don't know if I expected an action movie. I don't know what I was, but not every movie I like is an action movie. So
well, Watchmen is an odd duck as far as comic book movies go because it's not telling your typical comic book story. And, I'm not telling anybody anything new here. It's been out for 30 years, the comic book.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like... What?
But it's a totally different direction than other comic book movies. And it's basically as faithful an adaptation as you can get, minus the Squid Monster.
Which we won't go into detail.
Yeah, the Squid Monster, I can lose the Squid Monster. I'm totally fine with leaving the calamari on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, but that's the soul. No, it really isn't.
So, okay.
So, and one last thing, tone. Yeah, it's like the
DCEU needs some optimism.
Yeah, it needs some optimism because we'll get to this in a bit, but it's. I feel it should be optimistic with dark sections to it.
Yeah, I mean, Batman is a dark character.
Right.
There is a certain darkness inherent in, your comic book stories, but there is a lightness. Like the Marvel movies, they hit some dark places too, but there is just purely color palette is brighter. And that's something Wonder Woman really brought out as far as, it's just as a movie, it's nicer to look at. And not just because Gal Gadot and the Amazons are really good looking. Right. But that does help.
Let's not forget Captain Kirk.
Yeah, Chris Pine, he's a well-built man too.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to admit that.
Anyway, so I guess we might as well just...
Let's segue into Wonder Woman.
Yeah, okay. So, it's a sight better than anything else DC has done recently.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I haven't watched the shows, and I've heard good things about the shows, but film-wise, definitely.
See, Wonder Woman is kind of unique as a superhero. Well, not unique, because Thor is kind of like this way too, in that she's, at least among, like, Batman is a crime fighter. Superman is the paragon. She's a warrior.
Yes,
she comes from a culture and a mindset where, she's going to throw down. And I think that brings a special something that you don't have necessarily with other superhero movies.
Yeah, she didn't really have to work to become. That's just who.
Well, she did
is.
have to work to become.
Well,
it.
Yeah,
she trains.
But like, it's not like Iron Man, where he was traumatized and then decided to become Iron Man. She always just wants to be a hero. She wants to beat up Ares.
She's driven, and it's telling in the comics that there's the whole Green Lantern, all the Spectrum. She ends up with one of the rings, and her ring is the emotion was love, and she's always been a character who is filled with that kind of altruistic. It's been one of her biggest traits. And she's a brutal warrior. There's one comic she I think she's talking to Superman, and she goes, there's a reason I don't have a list of villains as long as you or Bruce. I make them stay down. She's not someone who she doesn't screw around.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of. And again, going back to the Doomsday fight, she looks at that and she has no hesitation. She jumps into the fray, like she's been looking forward to this.
But the movie itself, let's. Stay on track. So yeah, and I'm gonna quote read from watch from Nostalgia Critic. She's a hero just because that's who she is. She wasn't like just kind of thrown into anything.
Yeah, she volunteered.
She isn't out for revenge. She isn't even out for revenge. She just it's like sounds like Ares. I should do something about it.
Yeah, she lays it out in the narration. I wanted to save the world.
Right.
She finds out that's not, unfortunately, it's not saving the world and stopping a war is not as easy as finding the right guy and beating the snot out of him. Sorry, Japanese RPGs. But yeah, I like the character motivation. She is kind of like she kind of brings a purity to it that Superman should have.
Yeah, and that's been that just. Not that Marvel's missing it. It's just not their thing.
Yeah, Marvel, as I've always characterized it, the difference for a long time was DC is about the gods, Marvel is about the men. And
women.
Well, men in the sense of mankind.
Yeah.
Where Marvel does not have an invincible superhero. Yeah. Like they don't have somebody. One huge difference is like half of DC's like superpowered people have a specific exploitable weakness. Superman, of course, kryptonite.
Yeah.
Green Lantern, the original, he couldn't work on wood.
Yeah, and his weaknesses were always just kind of pulled out of that.
And the other one, and the newer Green Lanterns, it was yellow or fear. The Daxamites, it's lead. And Wonder Woman's was she lost her power if she got tied up by a man because their creator had a bondage fetish. But anyway, in Marvel, you don't have...
Is that really the weakness?
Yeah, that's in the comics. She would lose her powers if she got tied up by a man. I forget if it was willing or not. But anyway, in Marvel, Marvel does not have the weaknesses. There's not a specific thing that counteracts Spider-Man's power. Captain America, there isn't like a substance that can render his strength null, because it's just a different mindset. And I think I had a point going here somewhere. But anyway, I think in to a sense, to kind of bring that back, the DC universe has been about the paragons. Superman has traditionally been the top. And I think, and I kind of hope what the DCEU is doing is putting Wonder Woman in that position. If you watch the movies, Batman vs. Superman, when they square up against Doomsday, she's front and center. She's the first one with a really universally loved movie. And in the trailers for Justice League, again, there's several shots where there's 2 or 3 of them lining up to fight. She's front and center. So I think I would love it if they set it up so that Wonder Woman is like the head of the Justice League, the main inspiration for it.
Yeah, it's like, guys, I really have to straighten you all out.
Yeah, she kind of does. I mean,
I gotta whip you guys into shape. It's like, I know Bruce Wayne's got money, but I think I got the right idea.
Yeah, so I would like to see that, and because any other version of the Justice League, yes, there's the Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, but Superman and Batman tend to get the top billing. They're the better established heroes. They're the better, the bigger name recognition. And Wonder Woman is usually kept on par with them, but she's not the headliner. And I would
not.
What?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with it.
So I would actually really like it if she became like the head, the face of the DCEU, the way Iron Man is for the MCU.
Well, yeah, that could shift. I mean, I was under the impression in the first Avengers that Tony Stark was in charge, but then it definitely became Captain America. By Age of Ultron.
There's a moment in the movie where when they all line up at the invasion, where Tony basically implicitly gives over command to Captain America.
Yeah,
he says, "Yeah, Cap, call it," and he listens to the orders. So Captain America is probably just a better leader of men than Tony Stark. Tony Stark can pay for everything, but Captain America can inspire them. And you can kind of get that with Justice League, where Batman's going to pay for everything, but Wonder Woman is going to be the one out front and center and, getting things done.
Yeah. And then Superman's going to come back to life. And
yeah, I'm wondering how they're going to do that.
Well, I think the main problem Justice League's going to have is they're not exactly keeping us in suspense.
Yeah, we know Superman's coming back.
Yeah, it's
spoiler alert for a movie that's not out until later.
Yeah. Call this a very educated,
educated guess.
But and
I mean, it's not like Henry Cavill has been on set in costume or anything.
Yeah, it's and again, maybe, and I guess my big question of this part. Yeah, well, I guess a couple criticisms. Wonder Woman, the CG could have been toned down a bit.
I didn't really have a problem with CG.
I found the jumping kind of...
Jumping is always weird. I don't think that's CG. I think that's, you put ropes on them. And this is something that happens anytime there's long jumping, where if you look closely, they're not making a jumping motion. They're just kind of rising into the air.
Yeah. And maybe one scene of slow motion, but I think... what I like about Man of Steel is they didn't use any slow motion at all.
Yeah, that was an artistic choice to kind of show what it would look like if these guys are fighting and you were a normal person looking at it. And it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying. And I think they could have had less slow motion shots in Wonder Woman.
I think it worked because Wonder Woman, she's almost basically a Spartan as far as fighting and style goes. So it was kind of a callback to that, and it kind of showed, I like the style of it. I think it showed what she could do and worked with that. And some of the slow motion was instructive. Like when in the first shot of slow motion in the movie, when the Germans are going up the beach and they're shooting, there's the famous shot in the trailer where the bullet's going by her, and you can watch, and Diana, the Wonder Woman, she's watching the bullet. So that's kind of her realizing she can react that fast. And I think I think they used CG. I think they used the slow motion in a good way, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't know. Part of it just kind of looked a little uncanny to me. Like maybe it could have been edited better. Maybe some.
No, nothing's perfect.
Yeah, I suppose. So what do you think? Is this DC finally sobering up, or is this just an odd?
I want to think so.
Yeah.
I think they've learned their lessons from Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad, where I think they're just kind of going with where the character should go. I think they did a lot right with Wonder Woman. I like that it was a period piece, kind of like the first Avenger, but I also like that they went to World War I with it, because that's not something you see often, and it's an interesting setting to put her in. Especially as, if there was any war in the last 100 years where you could say, like, Ares was involved in just making people kill each other for no reason, it was World War I.
Yeah, and I watched something show, like, the steps to World War I. I won't go too deep into it, but it really is just, like, a lot of odd coincidences. Like, there was a peace treaty that was interrupted just because one of the signers had a heart attack.
Yeah, so
there was...
So it was refreshing, and it kind of gave a new spin on things, and I think that was a good choice, and it suits the character, and I would like to think that they're learning, that they're going to listen to their writers, directors, and the characters, and move forward from there. I will say, after watching Wonder Woman, I'm more excited than Justice League than I had been before.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer isn't quite impressive for Justice League. Isn't quite impressing me. It's too brown. I still feel they need to lay off that editing tool.
Yeah, it is still pretty dark. I think we're probably seeing I want to say because that was something they consciously mentioned in Wonder Woman when they go to London and it's got that dark filter. She says it's hideous. And the island is a bright, colorful, beautiful place.
Oh, love to go there.
And I like that the Justice League trailer is full of, like, humor to it. It shows that, Batman is not the dour psychopath he was in Batman vs. Superman. It shows there is a humanity to the characters. And I will say I love Jason Momoa in just about anything. Yeah. He's just a really cool guy. I would like to have a beer with Jason Momoa. If you're listening, Jason Momoa, I don't think you are, but if you are, I'll buy you a beer. Hell,
yeah, and come to another Renaissance fair. Come to New Jersey next year. Beer's on me.
Beer and mead.
Yeah, beer and mead. I'll throw some axes with you.
He'd probably be pretty good at that. He's been Conan.
There is video of that.
He's been Ronan Dex.
There's video of him. I forget if he was Edric, but he took a swig, threw it, got like a bullseye.
I think he might actually be Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah. And if you get another chance to play Conan with people who know what they're doing, please take it. Please take it.
Yeah, I think he could do well. I want to see him as Conan. You know what? You should just do him as like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Conan's son. That's what I want. I want a buddy movie. Schwarzenegger, Jason Momoa.
Dad, why do you talk funny?
Well, in fairness, he's Conan's taking a fair blows to the head.
In either the books or the comic books for Conan, I think he has a son just Conn. Con. Yeah.
Just forgot a letter. It's going to be Conan. Conan Jr. It was going to be Conan Jr., but Conan can't spell.
Yeah. Well, not to be a snob, as far as I'm concerned, Robert E. Howard wrote the only Conan story. I mean, I love the Conan Barbarian. We're getting off topic.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. Anything else we want to say about Wonder Woman?
She's great. Keep the good work, Gal Gadot.
Yeah, I think she really nailed it. She really embodies the character.
Yeah. So, now for some upcoming events, and now for some recent stuff, now that we're finally caught up.
Well, we've talked a bit about Justice League already.
Right. Again, the trailer, that's going to be coming out in November. Aquaman next one, that's not going to come out until
See, that one
year.
Should be interesting, because Aquaman for a long time has been a joke.
Yeah.
Blame the Super Friends, which reduced his powers to swim as fast, talk to fish.
Yeah. Well, we can blame the Super Friends for a few things.
Yeah. But Aquaman, people forget, he is, strength-wise, he's on par with Wonder Woman. He's the king of Atlantis. He doesn't talk to fish. He commands sea life. And, again, I'm going to go back to the DCEU, Justice League Unlimited. one of my favorite depictions of Aquaman, where he does not take crap from anybody. He's invading an Arctic fortress, so he drops a giant killer whale on them. He cuts off his own hand to save his son.
I'm imagining kind of like the big climactic moment in Free Willy.
Kind of. Except he's riding the damn thing.
And there's more death involved.
Yeah. And Aquaman, he's another guy. He's not afraid to, his own brother is the villain, and his brother's hanging from a ledge. He's like, brother, help me. And Aquaman's like, he's just standing there like, no, I'm going to watch you fall. You've been a jerk for the last 20 minutes of this episode. You tried to kill me and my son. You're not talking to me and my son ever again. Just fall down the hole. Yeah. Aquaman, he was they cast him as a barbarian king, and that's kind of what they're going with Jason Momoa.
I did like his episode in Batman Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, he's also great in Brave and the Bold, just because they took him in a totally different direction. He's this magnificent ham, and he's fantastic.
Yeah, and he kicks ass.
Yeah, that's the thing. Aquaman, he lives at the bottom of the ocean, and he could swim at Mach 3. So he is super strong.
Yeah, and I remember him one panel of a comic, him throwing a polar bear.
Yeah.
It's saying all sea creatures.
I'm not sure a polar bear counts as a sea creature.
He goes into the sea, close enough.
It's a bear that swims. I go into the sea.
Then be careful if you see Aquaman, he needs a projectile.
Fair enough. I don't think I'd be a very good projectile. I'm not very aerodynamic. But yeah, I would be interested in seeing where they go with it, what villains, Black Manta and Ocean Master are basically the only Aquaman villains I can name. But either one would be, probably pretty good.
Right. So Aquaman, has there been a trailer for him?
Not yet.
Okay.
But what I've seen of him in Justice League, he looks pretty good.
Yeah, okay. So, now for some recent news. This week, we knew that Ben Affleck quit directing the Batman due to schedule conflicts, and I think it was
schedule conflicts.
I think he just had too much on his plate.
Well, his stated reason was he wants to focus on playing Batman.
All right, fair enough. I don't think I can really give him grief for that because acting is a lot of work.
Yeah, directing and acting at the same time.
Yeah,
is it's taxing.
Yeah, and maybe if he has everything established, he can direct again. But I think I'm all right with him just focusing on acting. Though this week, Matt Reeves, the new director who did Cloverfield in the recent such and such of
blank of the Apes
of the Planet of the Apes, scrapped the script that Ben Affleck and is starting from scratch. We do not know anything about it at the moment. It's still in pre-production. I guess not much we can say about that.
Well, we could speculate.
Yeah,
but I'm wondering how much of whether it's the script they tossed or tossed the whole concept, because I know there was rumors and speculation and kind of hope that they were going to go with the Red Hood storyline, because Batman vs. Superman set up that Jason Todd was murdered by the Joker, and in the comics he comes back as the Red Hood, who is basically Batman. Red Hood is basically a Batman who's not afraid to shoot people in the face.
Yeah, to paraphrase Matt Reeves on the script, I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Okay.
And that's about all we know. But so I've never really seen anything that Ben Affleck's personally directed, and I haven't seen any of the Apes or movies or Cloverfield. So this is a big question mark for myself.
Well, the newer Ape movies have been well received,
right?
And Ben Affleck has, he's an Oscar-winning director,
right?
So, and Oscar-winning, or he's written good scripts too. I don't know. I'm not as certain of the Oscars. I don't really keep track of those.
So they've had trouble. DC has had trouble in production before, as we've stated, but this is pretty light as far as troubles are concerned. You
know what I would like to see in the Batman movie? Tim Drake.
Yeah, all right.
Batman, he clearly does not have a Robin, and clearly he needs a Robin, because part of the reason for Robin in the comics,
the designated driver of a crime fighter.
No.
I know.
Usually he's too young to drive. But the reason for Robin in the comics was to lighten up Batman.
Yeah.
And Tim Drake is interesting as a Robin because Batman recruited Dick Grayson. He adopted him, and that. He caught Jason Todd stealing the tires off the Batmobile and decided this kid had the biggest set he's ever seen.
I did not know that.
And he decided, okay, if you have the guts to do that, you're coming with me.
Hey, you want a job?
Tim Drake figured out Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson were Batman and Robin and tracked him down and volunteered to be Robin. So that puts him in a kind of a unique space. Well, a little bit with almost on the same level as Carrie Kelly, but he figured it out. And Tim Drake has been unique among the Robins in that he's a better detective than Bruce Wayne. So I would like to see a movie bringing Tim Drake into the movieverse.
Yeah, let's just hope they take their time.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah,
and Tim Drake, he had his own comic run for a long time. There's a lot of really good stories you could tell with him.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that. Maybe you could work that in, Tim Drake as the new Robin versus Jason Todd as the old Robin. Throw in Dick Grayson, too,
Yeah. Yeah, I have a
Hell, bring back Chris O'Donnell. He wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Well, actually, from what I understand, he has that, detective show. Hey, look at that. And from what I understand, Batman and Robin wasn't the reason he quit. He quit actually to basically stay with his family, build a family up.
Yeah, everybody in Batman and Robin had a career after that.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. It wasn't like the Super Mario Bros. Movie where everyone kind of got shafted, except for John Leguizamo.
But I'm going to keep an eye on the Batman because Batman again is one of my favorite characters. So it'll be interesting to see where it ends up.
So speaking of Batman, so after we watched Wonder Woman, my girlfriend and I decided to just because watch Batman from 1989, starring Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, and all those lovely people, and probably the most Alfred-looking of Alfreds.
Yeah, he is very Alfred. That's a very good description of him.
So it was kind of like how. Well, one of the first things I noticed about this is how physically unimpressive Batman is in this movie.
He's wearing stiff rubber armor. He can't move. He can't move very well. He can't even turn his head.
And his big tactic for taking down the goons is walking up to them slowly, lifting the wings up, and just kind of taking bullet fire. And I was like, this is a lot more impressive when I was a kid.
He's definitely a Batman who really needs to sneak up on people because he's not great in a fight.
Yeah, and, well, he wasn't even trying to sneak in. I mean, he snuck in, within, I guess, sort of arm's reach, but he gets shot. But you didn't have, the fight coordinators. I think they just got out of the ashes of Superman 4.
Yeah.
So
they kind of, it was a time where a recurring time where superhero movies were not in vogue. It was kind of a risk to make one with a big budget and big stars because you were taking a risk.
Well, we'll get more on that in a minute, but it was interesting seeing special effects. I know the grapple gun, the one-handed, was specifically made for that movie, and it caught on in the comics.
Yeah. Before that, you had they had to throw
that
the thing.
Rifle.
Yeah, the grapple rifle from The Dark Knight Returns, or he just threw the damn thing.
Yeah, and it was refreshing to see just something with practical effects, and before you really had CG as anything really.
Yeah, you didn't really have CG yet as a recognized thing. It existed and it was used, but it was not the big selling point it is now.
Yeah, I mean, Jurassic Park was only a few years later.
Yeah, and it still holds up amazingly well today.
Yeah. So you had that. It was kind of like the rise of that technology. Big Trouble in Little China. Great goofy movie, but it had some good special effects for what it was.
Yeah, for that level. Yeah.
Yeah. So and the plot's interesting. It's really kind of it's very Joker. But also kind of toned down, Well,
he tries to poison the whole city.
Yeah,
that's pretty big for the Joker.
Yeah, it's kind of like a big plot with the budget they had, and I think we also can look at Tim Burton, as far as style, because he doesn't come across as like an action movie director so much. I think he is more focused on the symbol of Batman.
Yeah, he really is, and that's kind of a movie that really explores Batman as the urban legend Batman.
Tell your friends about me.
Yeah, that's a Batman who thrives on people not knowing who and what he is.
Yeah, and Tim Burton as director, like I watched the documentary called "The Death of Superman Lives," which is about that Nicolas Cage Superman movie that was almost in production. Batman and Robin was kind of like the final nail in that coffin as far as production. And they talk about Tim Burton, who was going to be a director, and they say, a common trope of his movies is someone who is an outsider, either literally an outsider from another planet, mentally an outsider, and he definitely plays that up in Batman. It's like, as a millionaire, he's an oddball.
Yeah, he is a strange person.
Yeah, even when he's not Batman, someone was asking him, was like, I'm sorry, I've seen Bruce Wayne. Like, sorry, I haven't seen him. Just kind of like, screwing around with.
Yeah. So that's the thing about, everybody who's cast as Batman is criticized for being cast as Batman, and Michael Keaton was no different.
Oh yeah, before the internet, people could hear the cries.
And it was telling that the way he justified is he's not just playing Batman, he's playing Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
And Michael Keaton makes a believable Bruce Wayne. You may not have the physical chops to be Batman, but it was enough to be believable.
Like, I know he definitely had some input for Batman Returns. Some say some of the better input for that movie were the screenwriter wanted to give him more lines, give him more speeches, and Michael Keaton goes, "No, this isn't Batman."
Yeah, Batman does not pontificate.
Yeah, and the screenwriter did in retrospect go, he was probably right.
Yeah, Batman is not someone. Well, maybe Adam West. But Batman is not someone who's going to be giving speeches. He's not going to talk at all because Batman has the whole mystique about being, the underworld thinks he's this vengeful vampire bat monster.
Yeah.
And the less he talks, the more he can reinforce that.
Yeah, and that's perfect for Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim Burton does creepy very well.
Yeah, and
he does creepy very well, and he does Johnny Depp killing Helena Bonham Carter very well. That happens a lot. Maybe
was that Batman Returns?
Not in Batman Returns. They're not in Batman Returns.
Oh no! Oh, I was thinking of Christopher Walken.
No, yeah, Christopher Walken does creepy well too.
Yeah, but, in a weird kind of down to earth way.
Yeah,
but going back to Batman, what was my point?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, we're all right. Let's see. So Tim Burton, an outsider personality, and the Joker is a good villain for Tim Burton.
Yeah, because the Joker is kind of that dark, existential humor that Tim Burton's movies tend to have.
So I guess my point is, before you had fancy special effects and fights, what you had back then was symbolism.
Yeah, you had symbolism and you had character.
Yeah, and writing, and which sci-fi started out with like the first Star Wars. The writing in that was so much better than the prequels.
Yeah, than the prequels.
Because
they didn't let George Lucas do everything in the original movies.
Yeah. The thing is, you could say no to George Lucas.
Yeah, but anyway, back to Batman.
But I think it gets to my point where it's definitely more a writing focus, film culture.
Yeah,
at the time, and so and Wonder Woman, going back to our main topic that we spent like maybe a quarter.
Main topic is the DCEU as a whole, really.
Yeah. So, Wonder Woman was kind of brought together, but you didn't really. I feel that DCEU didn't have the proper symbolism.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman does kind of bring that.
Yeah, until Wonder Woman, because for all my personal complaints, don't kill me, internet, about the CG and slow motion. It was very much a proper DC film, for the symbolism. Yeah,
it exemplified the character, and it was a very good establishment of who she is, what she stands for, what she can do, what she wants. It was. I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but it was a very good representation of the character. And I think they need to do that. They need to look at their characters and really get down to who they are, what they stand for. Wonder Woman is, she's hope, love, and, an ass kicker.
Well, I would say DC more than Marvel needs to work is on their representation.
Yeah, Marvel is doing almost everything right.
Yes.
DC is still playing catch up, but I think they are starting to catch up as far as quality goes.
Yeah, we finally gave DC some coffee, and hopefully,
they're not hungover anymore.
He'll stick with that habit, give him some bacon, and all that. So, my final point: lessons that producers keep having to relearn.
And what are those?
Well,
keep their mouth shut.
Well, sometimes meddling can help, but. And this is a big but. Let's look at Superman. First proper Superman film, they were worried it was going to be 60s Batman. So we don't want that. Mm-hmm. And then it was good, and then suddenly the producers are like, you know what? This needs more goofy humor, like 60s Batman. So people got sick of Superman in the next 2 or 3 installments.
I see where you're going with this.
And then we have Batman is like, all right, we don't want what happened with Superman, and darker, and they kind of let Tim Burton do his own thing with Batman Returns with mixed responses. Yeah,
it went a little too far in the darkness.
And then he goes, it would be great, more 60s Batman. Like Batman Forever, I'll say, is a decent film. Imagine if Adam West Batman was the only source material.
Yeah, I would say Batman Forever is a proper mix of the darkness and pathos of Batman with the goofiness that you kind of have to accept about a man who dresses up as a bat and beats people up every night.
Right. It's basically
Let's face it, that premise, there's a little silliness inherent to it.
Yeah, just imagine if the silly Batman was the only source material, and that would be the comparatively darker and edgier film that would come out of that. But that's how I see that movie. And then we have Batman and Robin, which is Batman and Robin, and let's not even touch that.
Yeah.
But my point, and then we had the whole mess with Superman Lives, and so producers, I feel, especially with DCEU, don't know the history of the franchises that they're in charge of.
I think it goes back to the focus grouping where
yes.
The reasons for Batman in particular, that movie series, it was swingy. The first one was great. The second one, they decided they wanted darker, and it gave kids nightmares. So they swung back the other way too much. So they need to be able to. They need someone. Basically, what Marvel's done, the best thing they've done, is they've given the writing and directing to people who know the characters already, are familiar with the characters, know what they're about. DC, I think, is starting to come around to that.
Yeah.
Because Wonder Woman, you had a movie that was, the representation of what Wonder Woman is about in a way that, you haven't seen before. So I think if they can keep that up, if they can just keep it to the core of the characters instead of trying to swing it. We need them to be wacky. No, we need them to be dark.
Marvel has this. We need this.
Yeah. You don't need to swing Batman between wacky and dark. You just have to do him as Batman.
Yeah. Suicide Squad should just be Suicide Squad, not the alternative Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Or Deadpool, or whatever else that they feel like ripping off.
So
this week.
The lesson here is put the comic book nerds in charge, and you'll be fine because they know for the most part what they want.
Well, I would say, what do you think of Batman Returns as a film?
I'm not terribly fond of it. I think it strikes too much into the gross, disgusting, and dark.
Yeah,
and the Penguin is better as the socialite kind of. Not as terrible villain as everybody else than he does as the gross fish-eating monster Danny DeVito.
It was so. I do feel like that's. Do you feel the executive should have reined him in a bit?
In that case, yes. I think someone should have pulled back Tim Burton's. Look, you're going to scare children. Let's bring it back.
Because I heard even with actors, Jim Carrey and Cat in the Hat, they. No. I'm sorry. That's Jim Carrey. What was the other Dr. Seuss thing? The Grinch. The director should have knew what he was dealing with Jim Carrey, and it was his responsibility to rein him in.
Yeah.
So I guess who directs the directors?
I don't know. That would be the producers.
Yeah, and I mean, for the most part, you have executive meddling, things go completely to hell. So
it's swinging. You like I said, you need somebody who knows the story, knows the character, not somebody who. The worst executive meddling are the people who come in and think they know more about the character, or they think they know more about what the audience wants than the character. Like, you know, there's a whole thing like with the Superman. There was a producer who wanted Superman to get his powers from his suit, which he kept in a tennis ball holder.
I'm telling you, you should watch The Death of Superman Lives.
Yeah, I'll get around to it.
But
that's what I mean. You get, or there was a producer on Hellboy who wanted him to be a normal person who turned into Hellboy when he got mad, like the Hulk.
Yeah,
and
but,
so the
more
worst.
Like Devil May Cry, I'd say.
Yeah, so the worst meddling comes from people who are, you know, they're focus grouping, and they look at a property and think, well, I'm not really into this property. What would make me into it, and try and change it. So I think as long as DC recognizes their characters for what they are and keeps giving them to people who know the comics, who know the characters, I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, and I think the inherent problem with focus groups and stuff like that. Just know when you're dealing with superheroes or like a specific genre, sci-fi and all that. Just producers, you cannot appeal to everyone.
Yeah, you can. If you try to appeal to everybody, you're going to appeal to nobody.
Yes. You'll have something that kind of has sort of everything else, but not really satisfying.
Yeah, it needs to have its own soul.
Yeah, Avengers was Avengers, aliens, invading, and superheroes. You want superheroes, here are superheroes. So, and I guess that's it. I guess that's my point.
We've come to a good conclusion. Well, I don't know how often we're going to do this, but we'll be back talking about the next thing that comes across our minds.
Yeah.
This has been the C Team. I'm Mike Curley.
And this is Frank Curley.
All right, I'm going to start up the intro. And, yeah, okay. Wrong mouse.